Go ahead and get started.
Oh, okay.
Elsa's going to join us here in a little bit, but I've got this recorded too because we're going to be posting one of these up online here so that people can go back and listen to it. We do have, as I told you, the generic one that we do every month for our regular users that you're welcome to have any of your staff listen to as well. And that's also the one that we've got recorded that can be listened to online. We talked about that we've got those recordings and things. And actually today and tomorrow we're creating a whole new set of whiteboard sessions training. So you'll have plenty of things for all of your staff to get trained on. They won't be able to say, well, I don't have anything there I haven't done before. They don't have that excuse anymore.
Oh, no. Well, this is all new to us.
Yep. So some of this is the slide deck from my regular training that I do for that one, because it's got a lot of the things that we're going to cover today as well. But we're going to also specifically look at the things that you guys are going to use and ways to make sure that fits your schedule and things. So in the execution section, the 4 key things that you want to pay attention to when you're ready to start this part of the phase excuse me, is coming up with a schedule that you know the correct frequency of when you want to have those meetings, the tools that you want to use, and the reports that you want to use for each stage of the process. And we've got quite a few different reports for each of those different stages. And so I'll show you some of those and how they're helpful for the different audiences, like your board versus your internal meetings versus a stakeholder report versus a report that you would send for accreditation. All those different types of things. The system, with the click of a button, produces those reports. So the other is how to effectively review your progress and track your key performance indicators using our software. And you've been looking at that already a bit. And then also setting up the business rules to help the team easily follow the process. I know you've been working on this a bit as well, but we'll go over some of the things that we've done with other companies and organizations as well as governments on some of the business rules that tend to help, or at least ones you need to think about which way you want to go with them. And then how to actually run those strategy review meetings and have a great meeting come out of it instead of everybody just going, oh, another meeting. You know how that is.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody wants to go to one of those. One of the things in the process and schedule is, this is one of the things we like to show everybody, just to realize that it is an ongoing process. That it's the strategic management process. It's not just strategic planning. So you need to be concerned about, you did this beginning stuff, determined, your purpose, where you want to be, determined where your position is right now, developed your SWOT, developed your strategies and priorities, cascade those down to operations, aligned your people and resources, government agency, I assume you guys did that. And then executing your plan. And this is where a lot of people create the, nice, beautiful plan. They put it in a nice, pretty binder. They present it to the board. They put out a flashy flyer for the public, and they say, okay, we did it. We did our strategic plan. So that doesn't work, especially in these days. It does need to be an ongoing process. We keep reminding people that it is ongoing until you get to the point where it's time to start looking at the next year and getting that plan ready. But it needs to be something that you have an established schedule, you know those tools and you're leveraging the right ones, you're reviewing and adapting things as you're going along, because the plan does need to adapt to things that change in the environment, and then making that annual update. So it needs to be a living, breathing plan, is what we call it. So, and this is something, if you're ever wanting to use it to help present to your staff or your organization or the board or anything, this is in the help and support section in my strategic plan. This is the small diagram that goes over our virtual strategy guide, that one that actually takes you step by step from creating the first stage of your process all the way through to implementation. It actually walks you through the worksheets, everything is in there. So if you got somebody who's the very, very basic of strategic planning, there it is for them. It'll walk them through the whole thing. So you can give them homework. You need to do phase 1 this month, phase 2 next month, nice homework assignments.
Oh.
And that way, they get strategic planning understood, and they can be in teams, work together, determine, a SWOT together and things like that. But they've got all the stuff in there to help do that. So.
Okay.
One of the other things is understanding how your management structure aligns to your plan structure, which aligns to your accountability structure. It sounds like you guys have a good one, but just to go through it here. The management structure, you've got the CEO, which would be your health department director here at the top, and they are ultimately responsible. They're the buck stops here person who's responsible for the department achieving their vision, their mission, and the overall organization goals for the department. They are, they're the top one. If they don't happen, they're the one who the board's going to be coming after. That's the seat they took. That's what's going to happen. Then you've got the managers down below, and they're responsible for their division goals, as it would be in your organization. Department goal if it's a for-profit organization or something. And so they're responsible for the ones that are assigned specifically to them. That's what it means, what's assigned to them. And then the teams, the same way, those goals that are assigned to specific teams, they're responsible for those. And then when you get down to staff goals, and I know you guys aren't getting down as far to this one as much this first year, but it's one that the system does allow you to get down into eventually, is getting down to the individual goals at this level as well. So it's something to know that you can build down to eventually. Really makes it nice to have that room to grow. So in these, you could see at each level, the accountability structure is you're accountable for those things that are there. Most of them, above the individual level, you're going to have a lot of the performance measures, your KPIs and things like that. The ones when you get down to the staff and the individual goal level, these are going to be your milestone status, your percent complete, things like that. You're still going to have a few milestones up here in the upper section, but these are going to be a lot of your KPIs and performance measures as well up here.
Okay.
So 2 different ways of doing your meetings, and I don't know how you guys do these normally, but I want to show
We haven't done them yet.
We've got them in both of our things, but I don't know your other meetings. So I don't know if you regularly have a operations review meeting monthly or quarterly for your department, but one of the options for doing your strategy review is to do it quarterly. So if you do it that way, the best practice is to do your operations review the first 2 months, and then do your strategy review month 3, and then repeat the process each quarter. And what this is when you do the operations review, it's just operations. You don't get into the strategy, you keep it just operations. So it's the key staff that you need there, your core leadership team, and you're looking at how are the day-to-day operations going. So you are going to look at your strategic plan in terms of, are there things that are getting bogged down in the process, things like that. How are we doing overall? But you're not going to get into looking at what are the strategic issues. You're going to save those for month 3.
Okay.
So when you have that month 3 meeting, then you have the senior management team come together. And this is where you're not going to get into the day-to-day nitty-gritty stuff. You're just going to take those strategic issues. And what you do is those people who bring up the strategic issues in the previous months, you say, great, that's a perfect issue for our next strategy review meeting. Put together a brief on it and the details on it so that we can hand it out to everybody in advance of the next strategy review meeting. And you suddenly have your strategic issues team.
Okay.
Like how that works?
Yeah.
They bring up the topic, it's like, great, we'll put you to work. So here's the details on how that works. So you start out with the annual plan. Plan's in the system, you're ready to start out. So in month 1, it gets rolled out to everybody. Then you have your operations review. Depending on your organization, 1 to 2 hours. It shouldn't normally be a long meeting. Also your your department operations review again in month 2. And then, as I said, you've got those teams preparing that information and briefs on those strategic issues. And so if you have people who bring up issues in advance, use those. If you don't, have the senior leadership team choose some ones that they know should probably be addressed and have somebody prepare the information on those. And then what you want to do with that issue prep is send it out to everybody who's going to be at that meeting in advance so that they can actually come to the meeting prepared to talk about the topic, not just suddenly hit with the topic and said, okay, what do you think about this topic? It's like, no, we want them to come with ideas and thoughts ahead of time and be able to make some decisions. So if they've been able to think about it, come up with some ideas, then there's a better chance that they can actually make a decision in that meeting. And then what comes out of it, whether this is a government agency or a regular or, for-profit agency or something, you still want to put together that quarterly report, whether it's going to a board, whether it's going to, shareholders, because it's something that's, people have shares and interest in it, or stakeholders, or just your employees. Putting together a quarterly report after the strategy review meeting is helpful because it's a great communications piece. It tells people, here's what we've accomplished in the last 3 months. Here are some key areas that we're working on for the next 3 months. Here's our focus. And here are some areas that we've made some strategic decisions on, where we've made some adjustments, or we've decided to tackle this issue, or we've decided this strategic issue is not one that's going to impact us this year, so we're not going to make any changes accordingly. And that way, people still feel a part of what's going on. If it's your employees, if it's the board, they know what's going on, and it keeps them in the loop. And so they feel more connected and feel more a part of everything. So that report comes in really useful no matter what the organization. And then once those meetings are done, go in and actually update the system. What goals need to be adjusted? Is there any adjustment that needs to be made to the budget? Anything else for the next quarter. So keeping that plan, as I was saying, living and breathing. So the other option is to do it monthly. So if you're used to doing your operations review meetings monthly instead of quarterly, then this is one of the other options for doing it. And that is to have your operations review and then your strategy review. And again, keep these as 2 separate meetings. Now you can do them where you have one the first part of the month and the other the second part of the month, or you can have them on the same day, but they are split up, that you do operations review in the morning and then strategy review in the afternoon. It is normally best to get the operations review out of the way first and then do the strategy review meeting. It doesn't work as well to do it the other way around. Same type of information you want to cover in each meeting, just a difference in how the meetings are going to flow in terms of your schedule. So when you look at this one, what you've got here is more of your team members. You're going to have to make sure that they've updated their status each month at the beginning of week 1. And then the department leaders would go in and update their status. So in your case, the division leaders would go in and update their status. And with our strategy alerts, you'd be able to tell them exactly when they need to go and make those updates. Then you'd have a department, or in your case, division operations strategy review possibly, depending on how big the division is. So that work group, the work groups and the committees, this would be their meeting. And so what they would do is they'd come together, and probably for just an hour, they'd spend about half hour on operations. How's everything going for our division or our work group? What are the key things we've accomplished since the last month? How are things going? And then get into the second half hour of doing a strategy review. What are the issues that are affecting our specific work group or division or committee what are the changes in the environment or things that are going on in the legislature that are going to affect our group in particular. And then in week 3, you take that information from each of those big meetings, and the people who are in them that are part of your senior management team come together and have an operation strategy review meeting. And so here, this can last half day to a day. If you don't have these earlier meetings, then definitely a day here. But if you can have these meetings here in advance at the division and work group level, then that really helps make this meeting much more concise and much more valuable and useful. So this one you do the same thing, operations, the first half of the meeting, and strategy review. And then once you're done, same thing as before, put together that report to give everybody at the end, to give to the board, to the stakeholders, to your staff, to say, here is what has happened for the last month, here's the accomplishments, here's where we're headed for the next month as big projects, and here are some decisions we made about some strategic issues that are facing our specific health department and our region of the state of Missouri right now. So those would be the things you'd be looking at in terms of that. So do those make sense to you, those two type of review meetings? Don't go to sleep on me, Marty.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had the microphone off. I was eating orange. Sorry. It does make sense. I have a hard time separating the operations. I'm thinking the operations is from the strategy. What I'm thinking is the operations.
You're still going to use your strategic planning reports. You're still going to use the reports from the system, but you're just talking about your day-to-day things. How are the goals doing? How's progress going on them? Things like that. But
so those action steps.
Yeah, those action steps. But when it comes to something more strategic, like there's a new bill going through the legislature, or there's a new virus that is suddenly sweeping the nation, or something else like that. Those are more strategic issues.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I just wanted to make certain since I haven't read all those great resources, everything on the website, I just wanted to make certain I was going down the right path. So it's really kind of the action steps to lead to the achievement of those things. It's kind of your operations.
Yeah,
all those things you're doing it in support of, and then the strategic things. Gotcha.
Yeah. In those operation meetings, one of the things you want to talk about are things that are off track as well. So, something's off track, you can say, this is one of the things that I have that's off track for my division or work group. We haven't been able to quite figure out how to get it back online. We'd like some of your feedback on some ways we might get it back on track, things like that. Or, we could use some extra resources to help get this item, back on track of where it needs to be. Does somebody have some time, or, an extra body, an extra intern, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So that's more the operations meeting.
Okay.
So just before we go into the system, how to track your progress using my strategic plan. I know you've looked at this a little bit. One of the things we really push for in our organization with our clients is using distributed execution management, where people are responsible for going in and updating the things that are assigned to them. So you're distributing the management of that execution. You're not totally responsible for it. The director of the health department's not completely responsible for everything. People are responsible for their own chunk of the plan. Nobody has all of it on their shoulders. And so with the way the system is set up, everybody has to do their part to make sure that the whole organization is a success. And so you can see in the system, if somebody's not doing their part, how it causes parts of the plan to start crumbling. And so you can quickly see, okay, why is this causing us problems? Why is this division not getting this one done? Or, what's causing this problem? What can we do to get this back on track so it'll get everything else back on track? So And I know with discussions with you, you guys are working towards that. That's definitely something that will help with you because we believe in that quite a bit as well, that you shouldn't be the one that's completely responsible and have it all on your shoulders. You want to pass it on. Knowing what you're tracking, you know, that there are both qualitative and quantitative measures in strategic planning. You can't have a key performance indicator for everything. It just doesn't work. And you'll have too many things that you're tracking as metrics, and it's not going to help you. So you've got your qualitative measures. Those are the things that you're tracking as a point in time. So they've got a stoplight icon, % complete. Those are things like putting together a new program, implementing it, you know, getting new marketing materials out, getting new collateral out to people about a new health program that you've got going, something like that. The quantitative measures, those are generally your KPIs that are tracked on a monthly basis. And you're looking at the sum, average, highest, or lowest feature of those goals. So when you're putting them into our system, I'll show you in a moment, it gives you the choice to choose, do you want this goal to be tracked as a sum, an average, a highest, or lowest number? And so what that does is when you choose it as a key performance indicator, when you put in your monthly numbers, it's going to either add them up, it's going to look at the average, it's going to choose the highest each time, or it's going to choose the lowest each time to show as your year-to-date number. And so that's what you want to make sure that you pick the right one. And if you notice on your scorecard that doesn't seem to be quite the right way as you were thinking, you can go back and adjust the goal, and it will immediately refix how the numbers are being tracked without you having to re-enter them. So if somebody mistakenly picked highest when it should have been lowest, you can just change them, and it'll automatically fix what the year-to-date number is and the month-to-date number is. So those aren't a locked in time one. So once you fix it, fixes all the previous ones as well, so the whole thing will show up properly. Then one of the other important things is noting what the source is of your data. Where do you get this information from each month? Does it come from this government agency, or does it come from that government agency? Does it come from a website, or does somebody email us this information each month? You know, where's the source so that it's always coming from the exact same place every time? And a lot of people don't think about how important this is until somebody suddenly gets replaced and somebody else has to go and do the updates, and they don't know where to get the number. And so they end up getting it from somewhere else that month, and suddenly the numbers don't quite make sense because there's either a sudden jump or a sudden dip that doesn't make sense because it should have been, you know, going one way, and suddenly it's going a totally different way that nobody expected because somebody just got the numbers from a different place. So important thing is to keep that note of where that source is coming from. And then the frequency, you know, does that report come to you monthly? Does it come to you quarterly? You know, how often do you get that information and data so that you can make sure you're getting the most recent and most current information? I know a lot of people don't think about it, but, you know, just making sure you've got that. And just before I go in, just so I could show you, those strategy alerts I was talking about, those are emails that you can set up in our system where it goes out to each of the users on a monthly basis or weekly basis. You get to choose. It can go out on a specific day of the week or day of the month. And what it does is it shows you all the goals that are assigned to you or the responsible person and all of the actions underneath it, and what are you doing to, what is the current status of them? Are they red, green, or yellow, or what's the KPI on them? And so if you've got things in there that shouldn't be red or yellow, it's a quick way to say, oh, I need to fix that. And right in the email is a link to take you right back to the system.
Oh.
And not only does it take you back to the system, When you log in, it takes you right back to the page to update things. You don't have the excuse, well, I couldn't remember what page I needed to go to update that. No, doesn't work. The system sends you right to the specific page, and it only has your items on it. So it doesn't have lots of other things to clutter up the screen or anything else. It has what you're responsible for and you need to update. So it makes it very simple and easy. As we said, distributed execution management. We really believe in it, and we really do make it as much as possible part of the system. And then the other nice thing about these strategy alerts is we added this about six or 9 months ago, is the ability to put in a custom comment in there. So you can put a comment in there that goes out to the users that reminds them that they need to have their goals updated by the 5th of the month and have their report printed out by the 10th for the operations and strategy review meeting that will be held on the 12th.
Okay.
So you can put those things in there to remind them. So they're the subtle reminders. And these are things, once they're set up, the system does it automatically. So you're not the nag. The system is the nag. Always nice to let the system be the bad guy.
Oh, that's totally true.
They can complain as much as they want, but it's the system, not you. And then the other thing is when they come to those meetings is to bring these reports here. And these are our action plan reports. And what's great about these is they're very quick, they're concise, they show you progress, they show you start and end date, they show you the goals and actions, and they show you comments that were put in on any of them. So if there's something going on and somebody put the comments of why something's ahead of schedule or behind schedule, way behind schedule, you've got those comments to quickly look at in a meeting. So when you're sitting down, somebody can quickly look at and go, okay, these are the 3 things I accomplished this last month. Here are the 3 things I'm working on for the next month that are my big projects. And here are 1 to 3 things I could use some help on. Without having to get anything else, this one report could have them quickly report out in anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes those things, and they're done. That's part of your operations review. So it doesn't have to be a big, long meeting.
Okay.
Quick, easy, and it gives everybody a guideline. Here it is. Here's what you use. This is what I want to hear. And everybody's got the same report to work off of. But it's their specific work group or division that they're reporting on. So it makes it nice and simple there. So I think I mentioned this to you before, that cheat sheet that was on the home page that you also have in your packet that you got when you first got the information from Susan after your MOU was signed.
Right.
But if you do need another copy of it, we've got it. This is just a great one to be able to use with your employees and staff that once the plan is ready to use in the system to give to them, to let them know how the goals cascade, how to go in and update their status, you know, what the status lights mean, the stoplights versus the keys, and the type of reports that they want to use for their meetings. So just a quick cheat sheet of those. So just to go ahead and swap screens here because we've looked at this one too long. So we'll go ahead and swap here. Come on, computer. I know you like me. Thank you. Okay, so I'm using one of our generic ones here as well, again, instead of a healthcare one, just because I have one that's got enough to be able to show the progress and everything. So when you have the plan all into the system, everything's in there and you start executing, what you're going to see when you log in is this lovely screen. It's going to give you the quick scorecard of how everything's doing, just at a quick high level summary. How many goals are complete at the department level and then at each of the divisions or work groups or committees. How many are on target, how many are not on target, how many are past due. No status means they're either not started yet or they've been deferred for some reason, and then how many KPIs is each of these groups responsible for at their level. We still have to come up with a way to be able to show how the KPIs are progressing on this one, but for now it just shows you how many they at least have at each level. But this shows you, you log in and you see that, every day it's looking good. You log in one day and suddenly, the CHIP group has 5 past due items suddenly pop up. It's like, whoa, what happened? This is your alarm system to either be able to say, okay, something's wrong, or be able to see, hey, something's great. Suddenly the CHIP group has 4 new completed items. I want to know what they did to suddenly get 4 new completed items. That sort of thing. So it gives you that, hey, hooray, we have something great that happened, or, oh no, I need to go take a look at that, see what's going on. Or also it's competitive. When they log in as a division or work group, they're going to see how they're comparing to the others as well. So they can see, oh, so-and-so is doing better than I am. Maybe I should pick up my pace a little and, start updating these things more regularly so that I can show I'm actually making better progress. So it makes it a little bit competitive, too. I know, we don't want to make it too competitive.
It hurt.
Huh?
It doesn't hurt every now and then.
We've got that mindset these days, with the younger generation of, everything's got to be a game. It's got to be, their PSP3 or whatever, and, their iPads and their tablets and everything. They're always playing their games on their phones. And my web designer was like, no, you got to understand we have to gamify the site. Even though it's a business site, still
Gamify.
I know, they call
I need
it
to gamify my annual report to City Council. Someone
exactly. It's like, my jaw dropped in our meeting when she said that. I'm like, you've got to be kidding. She goes, no, to be able to keep the newer generations involved in it and wanting to do it, you've got to do that. And then the ones who are getting used to doing those games on Facebook and other places, that you're going to get more of their attention. And I was like, okay. But, the idea was make it a little bit more of a competition in there. So that's the idea there. But it makes it, great when you first log in. This is what you get.
Okay.
So say they've gotten that strategy alert. When they first log in, what they're going to get is they're going to come straight to this Track My Progress screen. Hold on just a second. Sorry about that. So they're going to come to this page, as I said, when they click on that strategy alert and log in. And what they're going to find here is a much smaller list, but it's going to show them what they're responsible for. It's going to show them what's on that strategy alert. And they will see either a stoplight or a key next to each item. If it's dark like this, it means it's one that they can actually update, that they have the permission to. If it's something that is grayed out, it means that they don't have the permission to update that item. And so
okay, gotcha.
It lets them know that that's not something they can update. They need to let somebody else know that that's something that needs to be taken care of. But they're very easy to update and take care of. You go in and click on the stoplight, pick what the status is. Is it achieved, in progress, not started, or not on target, deferred, or waiting on somebody else? One of the great things is if it passes the end date, it automatically goes red unless somebody's picked achieved. Even if it's in progress, if it passes that end date, it's suddenly going to go red because you haven't said that that goal has been achieved. The percent complete, so this is just the milestone goals that we're tracking here. This is not the KPIs. And then the comments. And we do have a few best practices about the comments here. One, to put the date at the beginning. Another is to keep the comments short. They shouldn't be more than about 2 lines long. And put your initials after them. For some reason, somebody else might have had to log in and make updates for you 1 month or something. So you want to make sure who made the updates. Put your initials there. And then You know, just keep them clean, keep the comments, you know, nice and short and clean, and keep the most current comment on the top. That way they're easy to see in the reports. They're also really easy to see here on this screen because it shows the most current comment. Well, not the most current comment, shows the comment that's at the top here first. And so if you keep it nice and short to 2 lines, you'll see most of that comment right here without even having to open the item.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
And then you can open to see more of it. But if you teach that as a best practice and say this is the way we're going to do it for our department, then this is the way everybody needs to do it. So it makes it really simple. Stop lights are nice and big. We used to have people complain the lights were too small, didn't make them obvious enough. So we made them nice and big. The key is down here at the bottom of what all of those lights mean and everything for the people who forget what they are. And one of the things that I always mention to people is the KPIs. Yes, you can update them on the screen. Normally, though, I suggest that the only thing you update on the screen for a KPI is the comments. Because what it does otherwise is it lets you set the monthly actuals, but only for the month that you're currently in. So like right now, it will let me update February's. But most likely, you're not going to have February's actuals until a few weeks into March.
Right.
So it's not going to do you any good here. Where you want to go, other than comments, where you want to go for your KPIs is your scorecard. So if you've got a key there, I just tell people to come over to this screen instead. And this is where your KPIs are. So here, you can actually input the specific month. So you can say, okay, it's the end of March. We can put February's numbers in now. And we can say that we had only $1,000 in grant revenue that came in for the month of February. One of the other things, and as you can see, that changed what my year-to-date was here. This one's on a sum, so it's adding it up, so I have 31 here. And you can see it, this one down here, and that one's tracking it as a number. Somebody didn't check currency when they created that goal, so this one's not actually tracking it as a currency. It's tracking it as a number. So if you go back and edit the goal, you can change it from tracking a number to a currency, and it'll change that to a dollar sign like this one is down here. Then like this one is tracking on an average, so you've got $43. You've got, let's see, the others we haven't filled in here yet. We've still been playing with them. But the other great thing to use in here are these targets down below. Because you've got your annual target, which is great. But how do you know you're getting close to that during the year? Because you've got some months you go higher, some months you go lower, some months you don't even work on a project. You know, how do you know how you're doing on it? So what you can do is you can go in and set these targets that are quarterly or monthly targets. And so what they do is it allows you to track them not just annually, but against the monthly and quarterly targets. And this shows up in your dash report, that online virtual dashboard that we showed you. This will actually give you those charts and show you a monthly graph of how you were doing for the last 3 months compared to your numbers, not just your year-to-date. So those monthly numbers come in really handy to be able to see how you're doing, not just annually, but month to month. Because you can see when there are issues. You can say, a second, why did we suddenly have this huge dip this month? We expected to make this much this month. Why did we only make so much?
Right.
And so it helps you know that if you're not meeting those monthly targets, you're going to have trouble meeting your annual. So it helps everybody realize where they're at as the year's going on. So I really suggest using those monthly targets. They come in really handy. Now you'll notice there are some that have like a gray here. It means this is past the end date. So the last month that was in this goal is June. So this goal is supposed to be finished by June. So it's not going to let you put in numbers past that because the KPI says it's supposed to be finished in June. You can update it through June on the calendar. Even after June, in August, you can come back and update June or the earlier months. but you can't update a month that's past the end date. Now, if the goal did get extended for some reason, you can go in and change the goal and extend it, change the end date, and then it will let you update these numbers. But this is a way to remind you, this goal is supposed to be done. You were supposed to have reached your target already. So that's what those are for, is to let you know that. And it shows you that when you scroll over them, it'll say, you can't update this month, it's past the end date. So we try and make it real simple so somebody comes across it the first time, why that rule is there. One of the other things is our Gantt chart, and I don't want to show that to you right now because we're just updating it. I mean, just updating it. It should be going live hopefully next week. So I'll show you that next week. It's going to actually be really cool and color-coded and all sorts of things. What it shows is your workflow. How many people are working, how much of our workforce is working on things this month versus next month. Where do we have some extra, space of people resources maybe. So your Gantt chart is great for that sort of thing. And so I really want to wait and let you see it when it's nice and new. And it'll be at that point next week. So I'll show it to you then, I promise.
Okay. Yeah, I peeked at it last night.
Did you peek at it? Yeah, trust me, it doesn't look anything like that.
Huh. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I got to look at it for the first time in the dev server live last week, and I almost died of shock. I was like, whoa. I mean, I kept finding new things. I was like, oh, this is a cool new toy. Because I'm the tester and everything, and I helped develop it ahead of time, but I didn't get to see it while it was in process. And so once it comes back to me for testing, it was like, oh, this is just too cool. So, yeah, trust me, when the new one comes out, you won't even remember what that old one looks like.
Nifty. Well, I'll look forward to that. Well, on your targets, can people put their, do they often put their, cumulative, the year prior data? Say your goal.
Like what you were able to make the year before for that month.
Yeah.
You can do that so that you can show how you did for the previous year on that month.
Yeah. Okay.
You can. That's another way to easily use it. Another one that is something you can use in your plan is the implementation process. This is actually just a part of your plan that says, how have we determined what are the business rules we've set in place of how we're going to do things? Like, when are we going to hold our strategy review meetings? When's our next annual retreat going to be? What are some of the things we're going to do to help make sure this gets done? Are we going to, have coaching? We're going to do incentive plans, certain things, maybe we're going to update goals by this day every week or this date every month, that sort of thing. This is what you put here. So if people are ever in question, now what did we decide we were doing on a regular basis? What were the business rules? Here are the business rules. So that's what this box is for. It's just a place to put those business rules. Just makes it an easy thing to be able to use there.
Looks nice.
And so then you've got those actual reports that we were talking about. So when you're into the execution section, the things that you're going to use the most, these reports at the top are the ones we talked about before. These are the ones that are your plan itself. So these show your plan before it gets to the progress stage, or even after it's gotten to the progress stage, but these show it without progress. So these are the ones like you would use for the board or the stakeholders or for an internal meeting, just to say, when the plan's first into the system. The linear cascade is a really good one to hand out to the managers of the divisions and the work group leaders to say, is there anything missing in here? Are there any key things? Because what this one does, this is the linear view of your plan, and you can look for any holes Like, okay, now why is that? Why did we end up with holes here? Well, this is a organization goal on profitability, and sometimes you don't end up with things that are farther down. You know, this is the profit. You know, how much of the budget is going to profit sharing? You know, for us, how many is going to cash reserves? You know, so there might not be something. But others you can look at, okay, here we've got these. There should be a team member goal here. Why isn't there one here? Or there should be a team member, you know, action down here. So you can look for where there's holes in things and say, oh, wait a second, why is there a hole here? Why is somebody not doing something to help support that goal? You know, why is there space there? So it gives you that ability, and sometimes it might not have anything after it, but it gives you that ability to see what's missing. Mm-hmm. And the ones that are red, these are the ones that you chose when you put the goals into the system as a high priority item. So if they were chosen as a high priority, they show up in the reports as red, so that they stand out and you know that they're high priority. It gives you that quick information there. And then you've got your measures and targets. So you can also see, now wait a second, why do we have no measures and targets here? You know, why do we suddenly have some empty spots? So you can see those sorts of things and say, hey, you need to go in and fix these spots that have empty holes. You know, you shouldn't have blank measures and targets. There should at least be something there. You know, that sort of thing. So this is our report that's really good for finding the missing things. It's also great for those in your organization who like the linear view. You know, you always get the ones who want to see everything in Excel or, you know, that sort of version. This is the report for them. They love it because it's linear. We have the manager of the Finance Impact Department for the BSA. This is his report.
Yeah.
He can live without every other report in our system. He loves this report because it gives him just the way he's used to seeing spreadsheets. This is his, you know. And our designer for our system keeps going, well, nobody ever uses this report. Can't I just get rid of it? My boss and I, who are the two ones who do development with us, both look at him like, no way. We said, do you know how many of our clients live for this report? We're like, there's no way you're touching that report. That report's not
looks
going
like a great
anywhere.
cross-check.
Yeah, it's perfect for that. And then you've got your other ones here. You've got your, I think I showed you this one when we did the introductory webinar. This is the one that's big and colorful. It's getting updated to new colors here soon. But this one's a good communications piece to be able to put up in a break room or a hallway where people are going to pass often, and be able to see what is the plan, what are we working on at a high level, and be able to see it on a day-to-day basis. So it makes it part of their everyday culture instead of just something that they think about once a month when they have to make their updates. It makes strategy more part of the daily focus. And so you can blow this up to poster size. Puts up your mission, your values, your competitive advantages, your organization-wide strategies. It's got your 4 areas of the balanced scorecard and the strategic objectives and organization-wide goals under it. And then it's got your high-level organization KPIs, your vision, and the key business rules you made for implementation. So it just makes a nice communications poster. We have clients who put this up everywhere, who end up putting smiley faces and sticky notes on it. Hey, we accomplished this one. Or, hey, did you hear so-and-so reached this great milestone this month, you know. And so they send us pictures, and it's interesting to see what people end up doing to this poster. But it's a great way to put a communications piece up.
And this is being updated too?
This one doesn't show progress. So
no, I meant, did you say it was going to look?
It's getting a nice new color facelift to it and everything.
Ah, facelift. Okay.
Yeah, it's getting a facelift. It's gonna essentially look the same. It's just gonna have a little bit nicer look instead of having such a 90s look to the charts and graphs in it. It's going to have a much more 21st century look to it.
Ooh, so, when's that happening?
That one's due to come out here just in the next few months, so that one should be out soon.
Okay.
But yeah, that one will be more along the lines of what the cheat sheet looks like with the black and the gray and those colors. This will be more like that, more rounded edges. You know, when this was created, everything was boxy. So we're moving away from that. So you've got all sorts of ones you can look at in here as well. The one click is our kitchen sink report. It's got everything, including the kitchen sink in it. So when you're having to present that big annual report to the board or post something somewhere for stakeholders to see the full report, not progress, but just what's the report for the year, this report shows everything. It's got your SWOT included in it. It's got your budget section in it. It's got your roadmap included in it. It's got your high KPIs in it. It's got everything. We were creating it for our clients manually by taking all the other reports and hand pasting them together. And we're finally like, wait a second, we're the developers of the software. Why don't we just make it a one-click report where we can make it a one-click report? So we made it a report where you could easily pull it up. So then you've got the plan with progress. And so down here, these are the reports you're going to use for your meetings. A lot of them you're going to use the executive summary with progress. And you have this available either at the entire organization level, so the health department at this level, or you can pull it up by a division or work group and see the executive summary just for that specific group.
Okay.
And at this level, what it shows you is the strategic objectives and the organization-wide goals, and then the department or division goals underneath it. So the first one just shows you the organization goals, their progress, quick glance. Doesn't go into any comments, doesn't go into who's assigned to them or anything else. It just shows you what the goal is, the measure, the target, year-to-date, and status. Just a quick summary so you can see anything that's red or anything else. So this is a great, report when you're starting the strategy review meetings to give the high-level status of how things are doing. And then you get down to the detail section, and you can see it comes down one level further now. And so it looks at that department division level, and you can see the comments are in here. You can see the most current ones at the first, the first one, the one I had at the top. And you can see the ones that are high priority are red again. And you can see the stoplights. We've got some reds, yellows, and greens. And if we're lucky, did I change anything these days? Because this plan, yep, we have something that's actually been accomplished. So it has a check mark.
Ah, okay. I noticed some of them have, let's see, 7.1. There's some in the box and some not in the box.
These are the division level goals, 711.
Okay.
Versus 7.1 is organization-wide goal or your department goal. So this is what's up above. And then these are the things that support it.
Okay.
So that's, and you get the ones who don't like the table view. That's when the linear view is good. It just doesn't show them progress. So you tell them they got to pick one thing or the other. Do they want progress or do they want their linear view? The other is if it's a KPI, you'll see here with the actual numbers, the hard numbers that's being tracked on.
Okay.
So you'll have that difference there over on the side. And then this one, that's all that's in it. It's a very simple report, but for those meetings, it's great to be able to say, this is what our progress is. So when you're having that operational review and you're doing the start of the meeting to say, okay, here's how we're doing as a department for the Kansas City, Kansas City,
Missouri
Health Department.
Yeah.
I have to remember how to say it. I know I always try and forget the Missouri. But what it does is, when you start that meeting, it's like, okay, here's how we're doing at a high level. We've accomplished this many, this many have reached the checkmark stage. These are the ones we're really focusing on for a big push for this next month or quarter. And, you know, here's some other ones that are doing well as well, or here's some ones we need to look at trying to improve our performance on. So quick, easy report out using this. So, and then when each of the divisions stand up, when they have their individual reports, they'll be able to report on these and see just there. So like here, we've got IT and sales and marketing and web specialists all together when we're looking at it. But if you're looking at it and you're signed in just as sales and marketing, they can pull up a report. All they're going to see is, yeah, here's what I'm doing to support 1-1.
Okay.
And here's how my status is doing. So they can report out quickly as well. So,
very nice.
Yeah. So the dash is the one we were talking about the other day, being able to use for your director, for one that he could get in and just see how the progress is doing at any time. And this is a really cool one. I like this. Took us a while to get all the things figured out for this, and we created this for another government agency.
Oh, you did?
Our library got a grant to do this, and they didn't want to do it on their own for the money they got. And so they came to us because they knew that we had more of the design team that they could use, and we did lots of work. We do lots of work for the county and the cities as well here in town. And so they knew us, and they're like, well, can you do this for us? And we're like, well, if we're going to do it for you, you know what? We'll take a little bit of our development money because we've wanted to create this but didn't have all the money to do it.
Oh, my goodness.
Our money and our money and make something better.
How nice.
So this is what came out of it. So you've got the areas of the balanced scorecard based on how you have it in your plan. And this report is updated second by second according to any changes you make in your plan. So if you have this posted, this is a link you can actually embed into your web page, whether it's internal page that your staff can reach via portal, or whether it's an external page that your board and citizens can log into and see. And they can see the status of the plan at any time. So you can go and click on one. Say we start with revenue growth here. And as you click down on them, it drills down farther and farther. And you can see you've got either a hard number here, so that's a KPI. So if we click on this arrow, it pulls up that month-to-month view, as I was saying, plus the year-to-date view. So you've got how's it been doing the last 3 months, the actual, the target. Each month it shows it for you, actually gives you the numbers. No, you've got those right there. You've got your start and end date. You've got your measure, who's responsible, and any comments and when it was last updated. So it's all right there. But it's not something anybody can make any changes to or any updates to. It's just for viewability. So this is something that works great to use in meetings when you don't want to have so much paper in everybody's hands. You want to get their face up away from their hands and looking at the computer screen so everybody's looking together, is to use this for the meeting and they can see everything. You've got those same stoplights, and you can see here this one's not started, so that's why it's yellow. You've got start and end dates, target, measure, responsible, and then there's all those comments and when it was last updated down here at the bottom. So, you know, it makes it really nice and easy. It actually goes all the way down. Let's pull one here that I know goes quite a ways down. So if you want to, it'll go all the way down to the team member action item down here below. So it gets all the way down to the 5th level. So you can see those. And the stoplights just match up to the others. You know, you've got your black for your grays, your greens, your yellows, and your reds.
Okay.
Then you've also got it as a performance view, where you can see, okay, how are we doing just on the org level goals? Not everything else, we just want to see org level. You can see those KPIs, you can see the monthly actuals and targets. You can pull up that same detail screen we had before. You can also see the ones that are on the stoplights, and you can scroll down and see all of those there. And then what's really nice is you can filter it. say, okay, that's great, but how's CHIP doing? So we can pull up just CHIP's goals. So let's pull up just the department level goals that are assigned to CHIP, just the third level goals. How are they doing on theirs? And you'd see the same thing. You'd see their KPIs, you'd see their monthly targets and actuals if they had them, and you'd see their year-to-date ones, and you'd see their stoplights.
Okay.
And this filter also works if you go back to that goals page we were at. Here, we're just looking at customer services goals. So we don't see any of the ones or twos ahead of this because they didn't have anything supporting the first and second objectives. So if you're having, one of the committees is having their meeting and they want to show the progress to the rest of the committee, they can pull this up and filter it by that committee and say, okay, here's our goals. How are we doing?
Wow.
So,
for at least for our agency, this level of accountability is
because
really new.
Yep. If you don't update your stuff, everybody knows.
I mean, it's one thing to be verbal, but this is the first time ever it'd be so visual and public in lots of ways.
Exactly. And it's caused some of our clients who love it then to suddenly go, wait a second, we want all that out there.
Yeah.
And so it does set up the other business rules of, you do need to watch what you put in your comments. You don't want your comments to be, inflammatory. You don't want to be saying things you shouldn't be saying there. All those sorts of things. So it's definitely something you want to think about when you get to these.
Diplomatic.
Very diplomatic. And one of the others is a lot of times, I think I talked to you about this before, is using the title that somebody has or the committee name instead of the person's name in the system, because that way it's not when the public's reading it, one, they're reading that name that means something to them. They know that division of the health department. They know CHIP, or they know that this is such and such committee, but they don't need to know who the chairman is or who the staff advisor is, that's responsible for making the updates.
Okay.
So that makes it a lot more, you can keep the transparency, but you don't have that issue about somebody's name being attached to it.
Right.
And that, once a lot of our public entities realized that, they did that switch, and then they were a lot more comfortable. We have the Seminole tribe based out of Florida. I guess there are two Seminole tribes. I learned this when we got the first Seminole tribe. The Seminole tribe of Florida is using our system. They just started their first strategic plan about 2.5 years ago. They've never done it before. As long as the Seminole tribe's been around, they've never done strategic planning. And their museum and historical society decided to use our software. And they actually keep it posted and online, and they think it's the greatest thing to have it out there in the public for everybody in the world to see. And if their link goes broken for some reason, they suddenly go into panic. Oh no, people aren't going to be able to see how our plan's doing.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Oh yeah, they check in. They have tribal members who check in every day to see how the plan's doing, how the updates are going. They think it's one of the greatest things in the world. So as the tribe's getting closer to their first plan, getting ready to start a new plan, because they made a 5-year plan, we're going in to try and help the whole tribe. So, but they love it. It's a matter of getting used to it and putting in that type of thing of how do you want it displayed in terms of names and things like that. But it's really great for using for that. So that other report that I wanted to show you is the action plan report. And that's this one right here. And this is the one that works great for when a division or committee is having a meeting with their own team and say, okay, how are we doing as a group? How are we doing? What are the things we need to look at? And so here you've got this quick report Shows those same things, the comments from before, you know, what their measurement target is, their status, their percent complete, how they're doing on everything, who's responsible. So, you know, administration is responsible for this goal, but they know who's doing the supporting goals underneath them. So if they're not reaching their numbers, they know who to contact to say, hey, you're supposed to be doing this so that I get to mine. Why aren't you doing your part? You know, what's happening? What can I do to get you moving along better so that I reach my numbers up here? The other is, you know, just being able to quickly report out, you know, here are my accomplished items for the last quarter. You know, I've accomplished this and this. And some of the key things I could use some help in, you know, I could use some real help in finding best practices for building employee morale. Has anybody got any ideas on that one, or has somebody who maybe has done some research on that previously? You know, that sort of thing when you come into a meeting.
Oh.
So just makes it a quick, you know, committee can use this when they get together once a month to say, okay, these are the things we're supposed to be tracking on. Here's our KPIs. You know, here's our others. How are we doing? You know, what can we do?
So it's worth going into all the detail when you're inputting your plan.
It is useful to put in those details. Now, don't put in too much. You don't want long paragraphs. I have a client who does that, who puts in long paragraphs for each goal. You don't want that.
Oh, okay.
You do want the information, but you don't want it so that it's so long that everybody's going to lose what it is.
Well, and I guess what I meant by detail was action, you know, down to the action.
Oh, yeah, down to the action steps, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It comes in very useful. And this report is also available at the team member level. So when you do move down to that level, the individual level, you also have the action sheet at their level as well.
Wow, this is really wonderful.
So let me I know we're getting long here, but let me just show you those strategy alerts here so you can see how those work. So if you come to account and go to communication, as I said, we added this about 6 or 9 months ago. We really beefed this up. We had the strategy alerts. What we added was this big communication section. You've got welcome emails. So when it's time to finally have the managers and staff advisors log in and make updates to these plans, you can come to these welcome emails and you can send them out to all the departments, or say you add some new people and you want to send them their welcome emails. They have their login information and everything. You can pick their specific name. You can personalize it by saying, hey, welcome to the team. Please take advantage of this time to go in and look at the things assigned to your group and let me know if you have any questions or anything.
Mm-hmm. And
it sends them a full email, lets them know about our software, you know, how to use it, gives them some good tips, and takes them right in as them. So it gives them their username and password, so they're all set to go. The other is those strategy alerts. And as I said, you can set these to go out weekly. They can go out, you can pick the day of the week. You can send them out Sunday so that when they come in Monday morning, it's sitting right there in their email box, or even Monday will show up in their email box, because we send them at, I think, 3 o'clock East Coast time, Monday morning. So it will be in their email box first thing Monday morning if you send it on Mondays. And you can send them monthly. You can pick the actual day of the month that it goes out. As I said, you can personalize them. Say, you know, please make your updates by this date, and please bring your reports to the meeting, the regular operationals meeting on the 3rd Wednesday of the month, or whatever it is. The other is when you get down to individual level, you could say, okay, here at the team member level, we want goals updated by the 10th of each month. So at the division and work group level, we want goals updated by the 15th of each month so that they know what their team members have put in, so then they can make their updates. So you can make that specialized for each group. So these strategy
really
alerts
nice.
really make it nice because it's not you as the bad guy, as I said. And so you can just save those alerts and they're all set to go. So those are a really great thing there. Let's just go back. Elsa just joined us here. Elsa, Marty.
Hi, Marty.
Hi, Elsa. Nice to hear your voice. I think I emailed you one time.
I know. I should have
Twice.
said Elvis is now in the room, huh?
How funny.
I just want to show you two quick things here before we go. Just a look at the reports to use, and we talked about these. So when you have that executive strategy review meeting, using that organization department-wide executive strategy with progress, and then those department action sheets and the dash.
Okay.
Those are the ones you'll want for those meetings. And then when the divisions or committees have their meetings, what they can use then is that executive summary with progress that's for their specific division or work group or committee. And then, you know, right now they're not down to the individual action sheets, but if we do get them down that far, if we get actions down that far, then you can pull that one for that committee. Right now you could use the department division one and then the dash as well. And then when you get to the point of having more of those individual ones in there, you can use those individual action sheets for those type of meetings.
Okay.
And then, you know, we've talked about this already, just a quick thing of, you know, what type of agenda to use when you're doing the strategy session, not the operational session. And so here you've got, you know, quick overview, looking at that, what we call corporate, or for you would be the department scorecard status. So, you know, how are those KPIs doing? And then how are things doing in each of the divisions and work groups? So each of them would stand up and give a report out, you know, same thing I said before, note their accomplishments, how they're doing on their goals and measures, any steps that they're going to be taking to get things back on track, and what they're going to be doing for the next, their focus for the next month or quarter, depending on when you do the meetings. And then doing those strategic issues. Okay. Like I said, somebody comes up with one in a meeting that's an operational meeting, say, it's a great issue. You know what? Put together some additional information on that, come to me with it, we'll put it together and have that at our next strategy review meeting. You know, let them take the ball on it, and then make that part of this meeting instead of the operational review meeting. And then just, you know, a close up. And that can fit within your agenda that you've already got. You know, it can fit into a meeting. We definitely say, you know, don't make more meetings than you have to. If this can fit into the flow of meetings you've already got, that's great. We don't want to make more work for people. We're trying to make it smarter for people, not just more. More is never going to get very far or anywhere. And the last thing, I know you know a lot of these, but so we also get them on the recording. Get broad and diverse input from everybody. Make it strategy. Make it personal. You know, what is my role in it? What am I responsible for? We talked about that with the distributed execution. Build the strategy to execute it. Make sure that it is listed with who's responsible for doing what, when. And you guys are great at that, but, you know, people complain, well, do I have to be the one who's listed as that? Well, you're the one who's responsible for it. Yes, your name has to be attached to it. Putting together a year-long calendar that's got when those meetings are going to happen and when things are going to be sent out for regular reports and things makes it great so people know when things are going to happen. The board knows, the division managers know, the committees know, everybody knows when things are going to happen. They can't say, well, I didn't know. Setting up those strategy alerts like we just went through. The type of measures that you need to use, as long as the source of the data and the frequency. Holding those strategy reviews consistently. And this is one that a lot of our clients are like, well, you know, every so often we have a month or so where we're just too busy to do it. Well, you get off track, and just like any goal or anything else, you start saying, oh, I'm too busy, I'll get to it later, and procrastinate. eventually you fall completely behind and you don't get it done, and then your strategy suffers for it. And then keeping your plan up to date, which I know you guys are really great at. So any questions or anything for Elsa or I on any of this execution side of the strategic planning and strategic management process? I know we covered quite a bit today.
I know, and I'm sorry I asked questions kind of along the way.
Oh, no, the questions are great because I know it'll help a lot of other people, so no problem at all.
In terms of is it the scorecard that shows the months?
Mm-hmm.
Can you change the date a little bit?
Oh, yeah, that was one of the things, yeah, we were going to talk about that.
I mean, in the event your organization has a different calendar year or fiscal year.
And the system lets you change that.
So exciting.
If you go to your company information, and when you're on company information, if you scroll down here to this third group, which has your currency indicator, your fiscal year start, your date format, and all sorts of other things down here, just click on the edit, and you can change your fiscal year to start in March, or you can pick it to start in July. You can, whatever month works for you. We first thought, well, we'll pick the main ones that everybody uses, and then we're like, no, everybody has different things, because even our fiscal year starts technically in February. Don't ask me why, because my boss has some really good reason why it starts in February, but, and then, you know, just click save, and what that will do, so let's see, I'll change this one to, we'll put a July start date. If I click save here and go back to our track performance and our scorecard, now our scorecard starts July 2011 and goes to June 2012.
Okay.
So,
very nice.
And as I said, we'll talk about the Gantt chart next week, because I want you to see it when it's all nice and pretty.
Okay.
So, you know, Marty, it's really interesting from a business perspective. Had I had those action reports because I ran healthcare practices, radiology practices, and had I had the action plan report and even the dashboard, it would have made my meetings much more succinct when going through our strategic plan updates. So I would have all my managers come together. We would, you know, circle around the table with Excel worksheets and whatnot, where are you, and so forth. And literally this, if you had to drill down to goal number 3.1.1, you could do it real time right there, have them give an update on the status of that. Let's say if you wanted to just deal with in one strategy review meeting with just all the operational goals for that month, because you guys are a larger enterprise and so forth. If you just wanted to say, okay, in February, we're going to be having a special, you know, strategic review meeting, I'm calling it a month in advance because we really need to deal with the operational, you could just even do it through the dashboard.
It's really a very powerful tool. I'm embarrassed to say, as a government entity, we haven't really tracked our strategic plan consistently over time, and I think it's been, you know, you hear managers say, well, we do this, but why do we do this? We don't really follow it. And then recently, when we did our strategic planning very transparently with all our staff. And one of the things, as we got it done, we took it back to staff at a general meeting, 2 meetings to cover get everyone to make certain everyone had input on it. And one of the things they said that they wanted most was communication about the progress of the plan. And this really, you know, these reports, the tracking, this just helps us be able to feed that back up, not only to the staff, but also to our governing board. So it's really nice.
When I spoke, I think it's been about 3 or 4 years that I spoke to a large group of healthcare administrators. The first question that came out of the group was, how do we take the plan that's collecting dust on my shelf and make it viable. And this is a very, very good way of making it viable, as you can see, because you can real time know where you are with your plan.
Now, if you have a plan, I mean, do you encourage plans within a plan? Because I kind of have I was thinking about doing a plan in the plan, our chip within our strategic plan, but they're ending up with 2 different calendar years. And so is it better to separate them out at that point, or because they have 2 different, you know, the start and end?
For that, you probably would want to. Sometimes you can, especially if it was designed, if your strategic plan was designed and then they went and created theirs to align under it.
Mhm. Good.
And then you've got that. So going forward, when they create their next one,
okay.
that could definitely be an option there, because then they can align theirs to yours as well, and so then everything is staying cohesive and together.
Okay. The other thing I noticed, we have a 3 or 4 year plan. I mean, it's you know, spreads over a couple years. So every year you update your plan and just identify what you're going to do that year, and that's what you track, and you kind of leave those other pieces. Is that what normally happens?
Especially your action items. If you've got high-level organization goals, so for your department goals, your 1.1s, if you've got those you've got ones that are multi-year, so you've got ones for year 1 and year 2 and year 3, you could have those in there that won't have anything under them each year until it's time for them. But what they do is they're a placeholder to remind people, you know, this is what we're working towards the next year, to keep that, you know, more of a top of mind. But you don't want to put in those other actions and everything until you update it for the year.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.